Hey guys, welcome back. I'm your MC Robbie Collins, and you're watching Comic Con Africa 2020. Guys, I hope you're having a great Sunday with us. I know it is the last day, but we've had so much fun with you guys. We just showed you the behind the scenes with Sabang. But next up, we have a panel discussion with Sam Humphries, Zach Howard, and Jason Masters. Enjoy.
Welcome to Comic Con Africa Online. Guys, today we have a real treat for you. We've got Jason Stinky Masters. Zach, Professor Longstroke Howard.
Ooh.
And Sam the Hammer Humphries.
All right, what's up, y'all? How's everybody doing today?
Creating you guys, eh?
That's just sort of wrestling match.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
Talking about wrestling.
How's Africa today, by the way? The night there? It's night there, right?
The weather is a bit strange because we're moving out of winter, so it's like chilly in the morning, and then it gets like really hot, and then we don't have power. How about you? What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, no, it's annoying. I hate this change in season because you don't know what you're doing. The next thing you know, you're sick because you've dressed too warm when you left, and then you come back. Anyway, can't complain about the weather as well.
And then with you guys,
I'd take some winter weather right here because it's about to be 109 and 110 this weekend here in Los Angeles.
Oh, LA. It's pretty hot here in Denver, too. So we're baking.
Yeah.
We get your fire smoke, by the way, just like stuffed right up our asses. So
You're welcome.
Quit setting shit on fire, dude.
It's got to go somewhere. I don't know what to tell you.
What's it like in the mountains? Is it
It's
cold?
great, but now there's like these crazy, Mad Max sunsets. It's just this red sun from all the ash.
Yeah.
California's on fire. And Colorado, the western slope has a little bit of fire too. So
Oof. Damn.
I apologize to all the fans for all the weather and fire talk here stateside. So we should probably...
No. That's what they're here for. Let's talk about
Only here for
barometric
this.
pressure, everyone.
getting the
talk about
full
fire.
experience.
But the ash kind of just floats right over the mountains and just it creates these epic sunsets. You can't
Wow.
breathe, but you get pretty sight.
I guess it's positives to every negative.
Exactly, silver lining.
Yeah.
So I just want to go around quickly, and for those of the fans who don't know you guys yet, shame on them, but I just quickly want to run through some things that the guys have been doing. I mean, Jason, let's start with you. What's the current projects that you're working on and the most recent stuff? Because the last time I checked, you were doing some work on Avengers.
I was on Avengers for a little bit, and then Captain America, and then I was helping a little bit on Bloodshot for a while, and now I've got a little secret project I can't really talk about quite yet. Sorry, no exclusives there. Otherwise, it's been cool. Did some stuff with DC Fandom, which I think is going to be on the 12th on part 2, so that should be pretty cool. That's really about it. You know, drawing them pictures, making the monies.
And you, Zach? I mean, you have been doing some cool stuff, obviously, with Hellboy and the Bprd. Want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's my most recent book. The final issue comes out October 28th. Hellboy, The Return of Effie Kolb, which is the sequel to Corbin and Mignola's Eisner-winning series from 2009 or whatever. Approximately. So it's I got to do the sequel, and it was a shit ton of fun, or bleep ton of fun, and double bleep. Yeah, it was great. Mike, you know, it's easy for me to say because I did the book, but he wrote what I think is one of the best Hellboy stories in a good long time. It felt like early 2000s Hellboy, and it was a lot of fun. I think Jason's seen it. What do you think, Jason?
Oh, I love it, man. I was lucky enough to see some of the pages as you were busy with them as well. So Every now and then I get this awesome message of just like art blasting through my screen.
Well, I get those from Mignola sometimes, so it was kind of cool working, back and forth with him. So it was, oddly enough, it's the second time. My very first comic book was a Hellboy comic book as well. And,
wow.
It was 2002 or 3, and it was for the original Hellboy resource manual. There's like a 5-pager in it. I got the job by default, and I knew I sucked really bad. I was a professional potter trying to be a comic book artist, and but I just grabbed my ankles and jumped in and got it done. But I knew I sucked at the time, so I promised myself I'm going to get a shot at this again, and serendipity happened after I finished up with Joe Hill's last book, and I think I got to show what I can do nowadays. Nothing's ever perfect, but I tried to bring the fire in this one.
Hell yeah.
That's great, man, because, I mean, obviously we were talking about it being the sequel to The Crooked Man, and it was definitely one of my favorite. I like Hellboy, obviously, because of the dark nature, and, I mean, Jason, I'm an extremely big Hellboy fan, and though that specific story really stood out for me. It's one of the stories that Mignola did that freaked me out. It freaked me out a little bit, and I was really excited to see when it was announced that there would be a sequel to that short story. I was really pumped for it, and I mean, obviously we've read the first issue, and I'm really looking forward to the second one that's out in October, right?
October 28th, and it's definitely the best thing I've ever drawn. Sorry, Sam, what did you say?
I said, okay. I'm excited for it.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Hell yeah. Bring the fire, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm excited because the second issue, and Jason's seen it, it's my best work, and it's about as fun as the Hellboy gets. It's just monster fighting and character turns, and somehow he stuffs it into 20 pages. So
I think Zach sends them to me to inspire me, but they just make me want to quit.
Okay. Success.
Yeah. And Zach, you've got some pages that you're allowed to show us. Would you care to show us these amazing pages?
I'm allowed to show the covers. So,
ooh, let's take a look.
My original art looks like. So here's cover number 1. Fortune favors the brave. I just straight up asked Mignola when he offered the job. I said, "Can I do some covers?" And he just said,
Whoa.
"Sure." So, and I was fortunate enough. After I drew it, they made it the A cover, not the dealer incentive. So I was pretty honored by that.
Cool.
The second one here.
Wow.
Now that's brilliant.
Dang, dude.
You bastard.
Bringing the fire.
Yeah, if you're gonna come to Hellboy, you better bring a big stick, right?
You bring the fire over there. We'll take the smoke here in California.
Blow it back your way.
Yeah. And by smoke, I mean gorgeous artwork. So we.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, it was. I'm kind of putting a fork in the first 2 decades of my career, just take a breather this year. So I was very honored that my end caps are both Hellboy stories, the very start of my career and the very end of at least this phase of my career. Yeah, I was pretty happy, and I suspect when this second issue comes out, people are gonna be quite. I don't know where to look. I'm not on speed, guys. I'm looking all over every. I don't know where to look on these screens. Apologies. I'm pretty.
Look at the camera.
Well, that's odd. I just like talking to the camera. Hello.
There you go. There you go.
Anyhow, I will try to look at the camera, but I just can't wait till people see the second issue because of the response of the first issue. And it was just set up for the second issue. So really, really, really excited. So Jason's excited too.
I am. It's
He
true.
sends me daily excitement pictures. So I know it's real. It's a miracle. So,
Well,
I don't want any excitement pictures from Jason Masters.
oh, you don't know what you're missing. It's good old 70s.
I think I do, and I've had enough.
Well, just keeping on Jason, he actually did a really cool. He did a spread of Hellboy, and we're planning a really cool Hellboy, like a secret Hellboy private project. But let me just share with you some commissions that Jason did.
Oh yeah, I did.
Ooh.
The original Jason. Ooh, fancy pants.
Wow.
Look at that black, sir.
And
Trying to learn from you.
Wow.
Great splatter on the bottom there, man.
It's fucking great, man.
I'm not even gonna lie, I totally lifted that from you, Zach.
Okay.
and then this one's mine. Just
Wow.
That's so cool. Damn, dude. Killing it. Killing it.
Well done, sir. Love
Those are
that
really
water.
So
Yeah, dude.
basically, this panel is not necessarily sponsored by Jason Master, but if Mike Mignola, sir, if you are watching this, get this man to draw Hellboy.
Only way Mignola's watching this is if he's drunk, trips, and his face hits the keyboard, and it just ends up on this through the randomness of chaos theory.
It could happen. It could happen.
We'll put it in a group. We'll put it in a group that he always checks out. The art group.
Well, I can. I'll have his art guy post this on his side if you want. So if it's a Hellboy thing, I'm sure he can be talking to it.
Okay, so
It'd be terrifying to work with him. Oh gosh.
What now, Jason?
It'd be terrifying to work with Mike. I don't think I could do it.
I was terrified the first time. You know, this time I don't know. I'm an old, worn-out hooker. I've seen too much. So, I'm not nervous anymore. I know what I can do. I make my clients happy.
And Sam, let's get to you. What you're currently busy with, man?
Well, I just wrapped up 2 huge projects. One is I just wrapped up my run on Harley Quinn with issue 75, which I'm incredibly proud of this issue because the artist lineup is unbelievable. We have Sammy Basri, Nicola Scott, Emanuela Lupacchino, Ramon Villalobos, Ngozi Ukazu, Joe Canones, and Riley Rossmo.
Oh, wow.
So they did all the heavy lifting on this issue. I just kind of showed up and tried to get out of their way. But it's the last issue of my run and the last issue of the series, so it was cool to sort of bring my story to an end and also just kill the title outright. So no more monthly Harley Quinn for now.
Oh, really?
And then I also just wrapped up DC Daily on the DC Universe platform. We did 450 episodes of that show.
That's
which
crazy.
Is, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But hey, when you do 5 episodes a week, like it creeps up on you. All of a sudden, you're doing episode 200 and 350. Wow. Like, damn, we're really like.
Though, man. That's
it's crazy. And we did a ton of those from home once the pandemic started. I'm really, really proud of my co-hosts and our producers and all the crew on our show. We really held it together during the pandemic. It did some of our best episodes. It was great because once you're taping from home, once you're doing stuff like this, it becomes less about like who has a free 2 hours in Burbank versus like who can you conceivably set up in front of a webcam. So I got to interview Dave Gibbons, which was fucking amazing.
Wow.
He's incredible. Such a nice dude. We talked a lot about Pilates, which was cool. Pilates and EC Comics. And then I got to interview Neil Adams, which was
interesting.
An adventure. Is the only way to
tell
put
me about Hollow Earth theory?
We did not cover Hollow Earth.
Oh, that's a good 3-hour conversation.
Left that behind. I think he's left that behind. And then also, like, just got to interview some of my friends, like Cami Garcia. She has the new Beast Boy book that just came out, Gabriel Piccolo, which everybody needs to check out. And then what I'm working on now, this is like the first time in my entire writing career that I've been off the treadmill. Like, I am not writing a regular monthly book right now, and it's awesome. It is such a relief. We're getting all new projects, which means that I can talk about absolutely zero of them. I can talk about exactly none of them. I did just turn in something for DC. I think they would be mad if I talked about it, so I will not. But then also working on some stuff outside of comics as well. So it's been a really, really fun time. I've been having maybe more fun right now than I have at any time in my career, which is something that I hope I get to say every year. I hope every year is more fun than the year that came before it. So yeah, that's all the shit that I'm going to say instead of actually telling you what I'm working on.
But I mean, you've been involved with obviously the Harley Quinn, but you said you just finished for some time. I mean, I remember when you were in South Africa last year. I mean, there was already a ton of stuff out, and I mean, you started with the new 52 of the Green Lanterns as well. I mean, and that
with Rebirth. With Rebirth,
yeah, that's right.
No worries.
So, I mean, how was working on that?
Oh my God, I loved it. I was real skeptical at first because they called me in. This was my first gig for DC. I've been working for Marvel for like 3 or 4 years before that. And I knew a lot of those people, but I'd never worked with them before. It was like a new experience. One of the immediate changes was that I live in Los Angeles and Marvel's offices are in New York. So to go in and have even just a casual meeting was an adventure. It was a journey. DC's offices are 7 minutes from where I live by car. So that was a huge change. I could just go in and be like, let's talk about things. So I went in and they told me all about Rebirth, and it blew my mind. I was like, I can't believe you're doing this. This is crazy. I want in. They said, we want you to write Green Lanterns. I said, that's amazing. I love Green Lanterns. They said, the book is going to be about Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz. And I was like, well, like, where's Hal Jordan? Like, can't Green Lanterns, don't I get to write Hal Jordan? And they're like, okay, here's how it's going to work. And they talked about Rob Vendidi's book, and they talked about how he's going to be writing Hal Jordan, but it's going to be off in space, and my book's going to be on Earth. And they started talking to me about Simon Baz, who I knew a little bit about, and Jessica Cruz, who I knew nothing about. And the more they talked to me about these characters, specifically the more they talked to me about the emotional core of these characters, the less I gave a shit about Hal Jordan. The less and I have to specify that I still love Hal Jordan because I once said this on a panel and I got hate mail about it from Hal Jordan people who did not understand what I was saying. I don't hate Hal Jordan, but I saw in Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz, what I saw in them was unexplored potential. And I saw a really strong emotional core, you know, like Jessica Cruz had anxiety. Simon Baz was always struggling with his identity in America. And like, that's all you need. Like, you could do 100, 200, you could do 80 years of a character with those emotional cores. So that's what I really, really responded to, and that's what made me most excited about doing that book.
That's fantastic. That I didn't expect that. I mean, that's just brilliant. What would you say is your?
Sorry, Patrick. It was cool. That was my answer. It was cool.
No, I mean, I didn't. Just
I'll teach you how to answer these questions, Sam. I'll show you how to answer. Don't worry.
Would you? I mean, in your distinguished career, I mean, which is fucking vast. What would you say is your favorite character that you've written about?
Fuck, man. I can't answer that. I get in trouble. I will say, I don't know if it's my favorite character, but I think I pulled off something with Harley Quinn that what I pulled off with the character of Harley Quinn, I'm very, very proud of, because a lot of people said that it couldn't be done. Because Harley Quinn is she's a wacky, over-the-top, exaggerated character. She breaks the fourth wall. There's so many things about her that aren't grounded or aren't real. And I said, you can keep all that. You can preserve all that. You can even take that to the next level. And you can marry that with a really grounded emotional story that really taps into her emotional core. I always talk about emotional cores, so I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but it's something that's going to make her relatable as a human, but you don't lose that Looney Tunes aspect either. And a lot of people told me, you can't do it. It's gonna be too weird. The swings in tone are gonna be too great. People are gonna lose it. Lose what they love about Harley Quinn. It's gonna be too confusing. Blah 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 blah. And I said, thank you, but fuck you. I know I can do this. I know I got this. It was tough because a lot of people whose opinions I really respect or have done really great things in comics told me not to do it. Told me that it couldn't be done. But my gut feeling was that they were wrong and I was right, and I knew how to prove them wrong. And so that's what we did on this book. We had a whole storyline about how Harley's mom died of cancer. And that was kind of our midway point, right? Like, it wasn't just leading up to a death like we often have in comic book stories. The second half was about Harley dealt with that death, about how she dealt with grief, about how she processes humongous loss in her life. And that is something that is incredibly relatable. We've all lost something in our lives, even if we haven't lost a loved one like that. We've all lost something in our lives. And all of us, almost nearly all of us, will lose somebody to death in our lives. It's incredibly common. It's more common than trees or spit. You know, like it happens all the time, but it's something that we're so afraid to talk about in our culture. And I think that's worldwide. You know, like, it's something that we tiptoe around all the time. And the response I've got from people who have dealt with this in their lives has been so gratifying, because it just lets people know, when you tackle a story like that, lets people know that they're not alone out there, that when you're dealing with these horrible, dark, hard emotions, you're not the only one, and that you will get better at it. You know, these emotions, you can't wish them away or ignore them, but you can get better at having them. So I don't know, that's my favorite character. I can't say that because I'll get in trouble, but I am very, very proud of what we just did with that character.
Okay, that's fantastic. You know what? For me, a lot of the time when I read a comic book, or when I buy certain comic books, where I normally follow comic books either for the art or for the writers. And one thing that I really like about at least this last couple of years is that there's a lot of things in comic books that people can relate to, and can, you know, like real life stuff that's really happening and that people can relate to. I think that connects the reader, obviously, with your work as well, which it's something that you obviously just mentioned, when people dealing with death, specifically with loved ones and cancer. Zach, your favorite character drawing that you've drew before?
Of my own or of mainstream?
Just across the board.
Oh, geez. Pound for pound, probably Judge Dredd.
Ooh, yeah, baby.
He just is kind of built for my dark, clunky asshole style. You know, just I can do, just add fire, bricks, blood, and he's just ugly face. He's kind of built for me. Hellboy was a lot of fun. You know, being kind of funneled through the early Hellboy art rip-off crew that I was kind of pushed into early on in my career. I have a lot of his kind of construction sensibilities always floating in my head from my foundational work. So it was a fun challenge for me to, I always consider it's like covering a Led Zeppelin song. You got to really bring your shit. So, or you just sound horrible. You either kick ass or you're horrible. There's no in between. So I spent a good amount of time deconstructing them so I draw very different than Mignola nowadays, quite opposite as far as, you know, rendering and how I storytell. So I had to kind of learn how to play his music again, if that makes sense. Yeah. And in doing that, I really had to learn how to make Hellboy look like. Part of Mignola's magic is his world is just his voice. It's not, sometimes it's not even his characters or the objects that populate it. It's how he's presenting the information. So I think a lot of artists and collaborators fail by trying to make it their own rather than harmonize with what he's doing, because part of the magic is playing his song. And so you're kind of doing a cover is how I see it, and you got to do it very well. And if you, people that think that's BS, you know, think about Jimi Hendrix covering Bob Dylan all along the Watchtower. You don't, who listens to the Bob Dylan version? You know, so, and I like Bob Dylan. I'm just saying there's just, you have to learn how to put your own stink on something while harmonizing and, I guess, glorifying what came before you. So, that had a lot of impact on me because I wanted to impress Mike, and you know, my goal is always to kick everyone's ass. So I tried very hard to do something that was significant on that property, and though it was a short story, it was a couple issues. I'm very, very happy with it. So Hellboy is a lot of fun. Wildly Yonder is the best book to draw. If people that are aware of that, every panel, every page was fun on that one. But I don't know.
What is that book? Tell us what that is.
Wildly Yonder is after I finished The Cape with Joe Hill, the original one. I had a little bit of steam behind me, so I did a Kickstarter, and Mike Rach and I did Wildly Yonder, and got a nice bidding war with it, and ended up starting an entertainment company, and that property then Intel bought it, then Apple, and then I sold it last year. So
congratulations, that's huge.
Yeah. Well, it's a little more complicated than that, but that being said, yeah, it was really good. But now we have the creative crew back, and while I'm kind of taking it easy this year, doing commissions and stuff, I'm developing, Mike and I are doing our new IP. So
awesome.
And also did a Marvel pitch, which I never thought I'd do, but serendipity happens. So,
cool.
Yeah, that's about it. It's hard to say, and Sam, you probably had this too, though you have a little bit more weight being tethered to DC and Warner Brothers. You got to be a little more careful in what you say, but it's a hard question answering what's your favorite. Even if you have a favorite, sometimes you can't really explain it because you're going to piss somebody off along the road.
Oh, yeah.
Or, yeah, things like that. It's a lot of politics. That's a loaded question, Patrick, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you both rambled, if you noticed, for 10 minutes when you asked.
It's not even the Warner Brothers or DC of it all. It's just that every character you've done is somebody's favorite character, even your own characters, right? Like, even the books that you look back on and you're like, I don't like looking at this book anymore. I wish I had done better. I do this so much better now. That is somebody's favorite book out there. That is.
I had to learn that lesson, Sam. Like, don't break hearts when people come up with something from 19 years ago, and you're like, ah, and they're like, sign this. Just smile and sign it, because you're gonna burst their bubble if you say anything negative, and you shouldn't. They're living in that little capsule. Enjoy it. You brought joy to somebody's life. So I've had to learn to take compliments sometimes, even when you don't want to. And I'm sure
it's hard, man. Right? When somebody's done something that you can, I can only see all the mistakes in the drawing, and they come in and love it, and you're like, oh man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It has to be nice.
It feels almost like you're a fraud at first, agreeing with them that, they like it. You almost want to educate them. Don't like that, like this. It's weird, the creative process and journey, and how your ego comes back. You're constantly it's a weird tethering you have to your old ego, and you're always battling it in some way, either hopefully in a healthy way, but usually it's biting at your ankles somehow.
See, you talked about you want to educate them, but when they bring that book to you, what they're doing is educating you in everything you just said about your ego and appreciating your own work and looking past mistakes. They are educating us when they do that.
Well said, Sam. Yeah. Yeah. And Jason, I didn't know fans came up and talked to you.
Sorry?
I didn't know. Did you get it?
Not of me, of Captain America and Avengers.
You're hypothesizing?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll happen one day.
Good luck, sir. To you.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed.
I think that I actually had a conversation just the other day with a couple of artists, including Ken Lashley, and we were talking about the importance of creator-owned comics, you know, and how important it is to do your own thing as well. And it's interesting as when you separate the passion and the business side of things, because you know there's a big business side about being involved in comics, especially when you do your own creator-owned comics. I mean, especially with you, Sam. I mean, you've done a couple of them with, I mean, Bprd and the Glad Girls. How was that process for you, just doing your own stuff? And I mean, Zach, you just talked about your stuff as well that you're busy with, and I know Jason is busy with a little secret project of his own.
Ooh, really, Jason? Really?
Nothing I can talk about. I have a weird superstition about talking about things. I feel like the minute I talk about them, they disappear into the ether. So just keep it quiet until it's
until it's there. But I mean, just thinking, I think it's important for every comic book artist or writer to be involved with something that they created, themselves as well. I mean, Sam, can you just tell us briefly how that felt, being able to co-create some of these characters in these books, and just being able to do it and just have that success and have that against your name?
Well, Patrick, I can tell you anything you want, but I cannot do it briefly. I just have medically is impossible for me to do it briefly. But when I broke into comics, I broke into comics by self-publishing, right? I did 2 books, one called Our Love Is Real and one called Sacrifice. And I was just like, fuck it. Like, I'd been pitching around, but I was like losing, I was running out of time to break in. And I was just like, I don't want to get to the end of this year and have to give up without saying that I left everything I could on the field, right? Like, I didn't want to look back and be like, if only I just self-published. And it wasn't a reaction against publishers. It was just like, because the whole time we were doing these books, I kept showing them to publishers, but it was like, this book is leaving the station, whether you're on it or not, you know? And one thing that I carried from that is it's such a different quality of life to just make a comic book with your friends versus sitting there waiting for the phone to ring or waiting for that little bling from your email program, you know? Like, it's just such a better way to, you're just so much happier. Your days are so much better if you're just making comics instead of waiting for permission to make comics, right? And so that's something that I've been feeling a lot recently again, because there's so much upheaval. Obviously, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a lot of upheaval happening in the world. I don't know if you knew this, but things are changing, y'all. Things are changing. So there's that, but also things are very changing a lot and very fast in the comic book market, right? And that has a lot to do with things like the pandemic and the uprisings and all sorts of stuff. But it also has to do with things that are very specific, a moment in time in the comic book market, you know, that we have arrived at through choices that the comic book market has made in the past 20 years, the past 30 years. So I've been sort of looking back on my self-publishing days and thinking about new ways to do comics, or not just doing the same old pitching to publishers and then listing in Diamond and then waiting for FOC and then having a, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm still doing that, no question. I'm still working with publishers, but I'm also trying to like yeah, there was an artist, and I wish I could remember who it was, but they said my job is not to make paintings. My job is to wake up every morning and decide what I want my art to be. And I'm trying to capture that spirit with comics, not just like what I put on the page, but how I approach distributing comics, or how I think about page size or format or venue. You know, when I self-published, I distributed on my own. I didn't use Diamond at all. I also, with Our Love Is Real, I didn't announce it until 3 days before it came out. I did the Beyonce drop before Beyonce did the Beyonce drop. Obviously, she was a huge fan of mine. I just want to say, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Because I know she's out there. Like, what is Sam Humphries gonna do? What, you know, how am I gonna take what Sam Humphries is innovating and apply that to my career as Beyonce? You know, I think there's in life, just as human beings, we get stuck into patterns, we get stuck into habits, the way things are always done, the way things should be. You know, all of a sudden things that were just not the way that things have been done, we start thinking of them as impossibilities or things that can't be done, which is simply not true at all. So, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm off the treadmill to a certain extent. I'm working on all new projects, some of which are comic book related, and some of which are approaching the comic book market in a different way, in ways that I've never done it before. So I guess I didn't answer your question at all, but that's kind of how I look at creator-owned comics these days. You're not just creating your own IP, but you can, if you want, create your own way of looking at comics. You can wake up every day and decide, what do I want comics to be like?
Yeah, that's cool.
Great. And Zach?
Oh, well, I'm going to be a little less Alan Watts about my how I feel about it, but
I don't know who that is, so I'm going to take it as a compliment.
It was one of my favorite philosophers. You can look him up.
Oh, okay. Oh, amazing. A philosopher.
Western Taoist. So drink himself to death. Anyhow, awesome to hear, by the way, Sam. It's interesting.
Thank you.
To listen to your path. My path has always been, I'm a punk rock asshole. So when I first started out, I only got in, I couldn't get in. I was doing gaming manuals that's how I got the Hellboy job. I was just doing gaming manuals. I couldn't get any work. So when I did get work, it was books I did myself that Image published, the first two ones that I did. And then within a few years, I was drawing Batman, and within a couple of years. And I realized that wasn't my dream anymore when I got there. So I knew mainstream comics I could never be happy in. It's not the system's fault. It is what it is, but I couldn't be the cog in the wheel that they're asking me to be, especially with the people I was working with. I don't think I had much overlap philosophically and or integrity wise. So I quit. And right away, I was told my career was over. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to do another creator-owned book, try that. And that's when I ended up somehow being the artist on Shaun of the Dead. And then my indie career launched from that. And then right after that, of course, I went right back into creator-owned, where Sean and I did a book at Dark Horse. And we're both gaining momentum there. And for some reason, I went back and did some Marvel works and Spider-Man and Hulk and Aliens anniversary stuff, and found myself miserable again. I stopped listening to myself and found myself miserable. And that's when I quit everything and did Wildly Yonder. And
Hell yeah.
The Kickstarter did very well. And then the publishing did extremely well, and everything after it, other than having to deal with the subhumans of Hollywood, which I did learn a lot, but I thought comic book publishing was gross. I put it this way, I won't be happy unless I'm doing my own shit. When you see me doing Hellboy, or I'm basically retired now. I only do bucket list stuff. If I would rather see my voice create and tell a story, that's why I'm here, than just I'm not here to participate. I'm here to try my best to make something significant that is on the shelves long after I'm dead. And to the fucking point where when the aliens come sift through the ashes of this planet, they find my fucking book. That's how. So now, that's a carrot in front of the horse type of motivation that I'm doing for myself. Obviously, you can't expect that lottery ticket to happen. It's foolish to even waste energy on. But I think it's also important, at least in my life, to aim for the top of the mountain at all times. I just get really bored with people that have the good enough or that's cool attitude. I like to fucking make significant things. I like to kick everybody's ass. I like when you close my book, you have to fucking read it backwards because you don't know what the fuck how I did that, or the rest of the creative crew too. And I want a band of soldiers that are savages, that are as crazy as me. And when we're done, we have something that nobody else ever accomplished before. And I love it when a motherfucker tells me, oh, you can't do that, or you got to do this in the system. I don't give a shit about Marvel or DC. They don't give a shit about me. Will I do something for them? Of course. But you got to bring money in a fun project. I don't give a shit, you know, whatever character, and this is his fun reboot art. I go masturbate and retread tires. I don't care. More power to you. But I'm gonna create shit, whether someone's reading it or not. You know, I only got one life. So that's how I feel about creator-owned stuff. I'm not happy unless I'm doing it. So unless it's something like Mignola's writing me a Hellboy story, or Marvel's gonna let me fuck around with Mr. Fix-It, or something like that, where I'm really satisfying an itch I have, I'm only gonna be serving myself. Everybody else can get fucked.
Nice.
By the way,
awesome, dude, I love that.
thanks, man. And by the way, it's really cool meeting you, but I just want to real quick tangent over to Jason, who I did a creator-owned book with Common and his team.
Oh, yeah.
It was called Caster. It was the big American launch of Webtoons. Jason Masters was my artist on the project, and he got to help actually, you know, you did pretty much all the design work and stuff like that. So that your voice basically was the entire visual thrust for Common's project. So I thought that would be neat to dovetail into Jason, because he's tiptoed into creator-owned stuff too. You even own a little hint of that still, don't you?
I think so. I don't know.
Because I sold everything but the cape. I don't own shit except for.
Cast was one of my favorite things to work on, because Zach was my editor, and having an artist as an editor was so freeing, because I would always be told to like push things, and you know, I'm intimidated by Zach's art and his manly guns. So you know, I wanted to impress him, so it was always fun to do that, and then try and figure out new ways of storytelling, especially in the whole Webtoons format. You know, it being quite a different thing, having to scroll down, so you're not reading left to right. And so that was an interesting little hurdle to get over as well from a storytelling perspective. But yeah, it's still one of my favorite projects. I would love to have done a sequel to that, but yeah, that's a story for another day. Yeah, I mean, anybody gets into comics not wanting to do creator owned, but I think being in South Africa, we like, I can't speak for anybody else, but there's a part in me that was like, if I'm good enough to get to draw Batman or Captain America or whatever, then maybe I'm good enough to make my own stuff. And it was just, for me, it was always like a finish line I had to cross to have the confidence to make my own things. And that's why I want to do more creator-owned stuff now.
Awesome.
Yeah, dude, you rang that bell. You did it.
I mean, just listening to you guys, I mean, if you're an up-and-coming artist or a writer, and you're thinking of doing this. I mean, and if you're not inspired, what you guys just fucking said, nothing else will inspire you. But I've always seen South Africa, and I mean, I've known Jason for quite some time. I've always seen South Africa as like a Wild West still for entrepreneurs, where you can literally go and do everything. I mean, when we thought about doing Comic-Con Africa back in 2015, it birthed from the Walking Dead special on TV, and we just said, like, we're gonna fucking do this. And a couple of years along, and we've done it. And you know, Comic-Con Africa is one of Reed Pop's. It's the biggest first-time show ever in the world, and it's the fastest growing comic book convention show in the world as well. So I think just the general thing is and I like your attitude, Zach, is just fucking do it. I mean, no matter what, if you do your own thing, and I mean, you chatted earlier about the whole Hellboy thing and trying to do obviously the character justice, but you fucking nailed it. And there's nothing that pisses me off more than picking up a Hellboy comic book, going through, because I mean, with my first thing is obviously the story, but I'm really attracted to the art. And if somebody does Hellboy not the way they're supposed to, fans pick up on it really quickly. And you can see like, okay, this is not it. And your stuff is fucking super, dude.
Well, honored. And to your point, just to echo on it, what I enjoy most is freedom. And there's, and it seems like Sam has done a masterful job of dipping his feet in both things. But say if you're doing something for DC that's high-level Green Lantern, you got to shuffle into the war room and make a lot of people agree with you, most likely, if you're going to move forward on these big titles. You're the keeper of the brand. You know, there's kids with underwear with that character on it. You can't F up. So when nobody's watching, and I learned this when I went into the indie path, a lot of people write you off, and I didn't write myself off. But what it gave me is this 100% creative freedom. Nobody's watching. So whatever I do is a pure expression of myself. And when I do Hellboy, you have to then harmonize much what Sam does masterfully. You got to take somebody else's brand and still make the people that expect, to your point, you want to read a Mike Mignola story, but I also want to have my own voice. So you have to rectify that somehow, and some people do better than others. So it's two very different mindsets, even though using a lot of same skill sets, if that makes sense. And I'm always in awe of people like Sam that is truly able to seemingly do two things at the same time. I don't have that brain. I'm more of just like a race car that with no steering wheel. You just point it in the direction and press go. And you'll see me at the end in a pile of fire, but I'll get there and win the race. You know, so it's very interesting to hear everybody's take on it. Here, Jason wants to be reaching a certain skill set before he shows his voice, his own 100% voice to the world. Sam's been starting when nobody'd pay attention. He said he had the good punk rock fuck it attitude. Well, if nobody's going to give me a chance, I'm going to do it. It's just really inspiring to hear that. It's interesting to hear people's paths because we have so many different ways in. Jason, you're over in Africa. There's not the con game that we have to run around and play politics and have beers with pot-bellied assholes and pretend you don't hate people and things like that. All the politics that come with conventions, a lot of fun too. But you guys have that freedom to where, well, shit, nobody's listening to us in Africa, to your point of your con, and now you have this and your success, and it may not have happened if people's eyeballs were on you, is what I said. There's a creative freedom when people ignore you, and you got to learn to embrace that. It's
I mean, don't get it twisted, Zach. Jason still drinks the beers. He still does that part.
I thought it was just whiskey with a straw, but I know them, Ken.
That's the part of the convention that we look forward to the most, is the drinks afterward. Always.
That's the fun part. It's the social life. You don't get to see your buddy for like 7 years or something, and you're in Calgary, and you're like, holy shit, you're gray and old. Let's go ahead and get a beer. You know, damn, I'm getting to do that a lot. It's like little reunions lots of times. Some of these big cons, you know, especially if you've been, you know, grinding or in the dark for a little bit trying to get something done, and you have no clue what anybody's doing, and you show up at a con and your eyes are pinwheeling, you know, that the world was moving around you. It's pretty interesting. I'm just blathering. Sorry,
Jason,
Sam, you infected me.
No, Jason, talk to us a little bit about, because I was so impressed and inspired when I went to South Africa last year with the comic scene there, and talk to us a little bit about what it's like to what it's like for like up and coming creators in South Africa and Africa in general.
Well, when you guys know Sean Isaacs, when Sean Isaacs and I were getting into comics here, there wasn't really anybody working internationally. So since then, all of these people have popped up, and I get messages almost weekly from local creators asking for advice, and it's so exciting because there are so many good artists here. And it takes a bit of time, and it can be a bit of a pain in the butt because a lot of people aren't interested in putting the time in that it takes to be an artist, like a comic artist. It is like a serious career. You don't get to do anything else. There's a reason why there's such a thing as comic book widows. But now people are seeing that it's possible. Like we've managed to break the seal on that, and I've got friends in Zimbabwe who are making amazing comics. I've got, friends just down the street, people in Cape Town, and the scene's really growing, and there's so many unique voices. It's actually scary. I'm actually glad that I didn't have to compete with them to get into the industry in the first place.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was, when I went to South Africa, when I went to Cape Town, I was so inspired by the comic scene there and the comic creators there, because I think here in America, or North America, we take for granted all the things that are here because we're the center of this style of comic books. You know, like we have tons of conventions all year long. We have publishers that are in effect local. They may not be local to my city or Zach's city, but they're a lot more local than if you live in Johannesburg or if you live in Zimbabwe. And I was so inspired to see that, because obviously like talent is everywhere. Like talent obeys no cartography, right? So like the talent that is in South Africa, that is in Africa, these people were just like, well, we don't have these things. We're just going to do it anyway. These people dived right into self-publishing. These people dived right into con organizing. These people dived right into being publishers without hesitation, seemingly. And I left with this an understanding and this appreciation for that. These aren't just talented artists and writers and colorists and letters and so on. On top of being talented and putting the work into their craft, they also have to self-publish. They also have to hustle more than we do. They also have to organize things that we take for granted. So I was just really so impressed by the dedication of the comic scene in Africa.
I was lucky enough to go to Nairobi a couple of years back for one of their conventions there, and had no idea there was. And just being able to talk to a few people there and do some panels on the actual creation of comics, and just seeing the immense amount of talent. And that is like punk rock as it gets, man. People are making cosplay costumes out of cardboard and spray paint, and they look like Hellboy just because it's what they've got. They don't have what we, like even here in South Africa, we are lucky. And yeah, man, just fantastic things, using comics for educational things. I can't even talk about all of the great stuff. I should have brought some down to show, but anyway, yeah, it's everywhere, and I'd like to go to more. I'd actually like to go to more conventions around Africa and see some of the guys there. Give them a bit of a chance. Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, because South Africa is not Africa. There were a lot of people from all over Africa, but I want to see what the scene is like all over the continent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost got to go to Nigeria for a convention. But man, you want to go when we're safe to travel again?
Yeah. when America gets its shit together and we're allowed to travel, count me in. I would love to. I would absolutely, like, seriously, like, I would love to do it. I would absolutely love to do it. Any cons in Africa listening, I would love to come visit. Absolutely.
Awesome. I keep trying to bring Zach out here, but he doesn't want to hang around me anymore.
I don't fit on fucking planes, guys, so
Neither do I.
Try having my goddamn legs and being on a plane. So, yeah, I'd love to get to Africa. You invited me, or it might have been you and Patrick, I forget, and you went and did those shows yourself. I have some medical issues that I can't always travel with. And unfortunately, Africa for a bit was on the no-fly zone for my health insurance. So that kind of overlapped at the time. I would have done it. I would have sprung the money for extended seating. Got my ass to South Africa. So, yeah, I would love to go to. I mean, shit, that's one of the only continents I haven't been to. So I'm envious of you, Sam. You got to experience and see a place that you're building your own foundation. You don't get to Sam's point, there's no firm ground beneath you. There's no one that came before you to show how it's done. You know, that's punk rock. That's Old West, man. Just grab your guns and frontiered that shit. So excellent.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It was a really special experience.
Yeah.
Even though I had to hang out with Jason all the time, it was still special.
It can get exhausting, but we like him some days. So.
I mean, I just gotta say the hospitality in South Africa is outstanding.
Epic.
The second I landed, I was getting WhatsApp messages from Jason and Sean. They were like, "Where are you?" I was like, "I'm jet lagged, motherfucker. Like, give me a minute. I'm on my way to the hotel." I mean, I was like, "Okay, guys. Like, I just got to the hotel." They're like, "Yeah, we're at the bar downstairs. Come down here right now."
We tried to invite them for tacos. You know,
they did not give me a second to feel out of sorts or unwelcome. They're immediately like, "Well, here's your drink. Let's go. We're going. Meet our friends. Here we go." It really was an amazing time.
We did that to Jason when he shit. The moment you got to New York City, right? We grabbed your ass and got moving.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was the common program. We had to run around.
I thought my kid fell down the stairs.
Your presentation skills are great, Jason.
Sorry, I missed all that. There was some commotion.
Oh, shit. No, I was just saying, in all fairness to Sam, we abused you pretty hard when he came up to New York. So.
Good.
I think I went to more Irish pubs in New York than I've been to my whole life. It was great.
Yeah. We actually went to that one pub in Hell's Kitchen, and then we went afterwards with the DC crew to do some karaoke.
Karaoke.
They didn't expect Jason and myself to completely destroy them. I feel confident on that.
Got the secret South African sauce in the karaoke.
We pretty much only did a lot of System of a Down stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much. We ran out of time, but
already.
Yeah, it was fun. I think I just want to quickly run through each of you. If you've got some parting words for the South African fans, just something you want to just say. Let's start with you, Jason.
Can't wait to see you guys all again when conventions happen again. Yeah, but until then, stay safe, wear a mask, man, and keep making comics.
Zach?
Hope to see everybody in South Africa sometime and learn to kick everybody's ass.
Thanks.
Hell yeah.
And Sam?
I just want to say, love y'all. Like I said, my time meeting y'all in Cape Town was amazing, a really special time. I think about all that you showed me all the time when I'm making my own comics. So I know you feel sometimes removed and separate from, you know, what we're doing over here and everything, but I want to tell you that you're not. As long as you're making comics, you are a part of all this stuff we got going on. So keep doing your thing. Keep making comics. Don't ever give up. Look at Jason. Look at this lunkhead. If Jason can make it, so can you. When I get back to South Africa, I want to see your next comic. I want to see new comics. You know, I brought a huge bag back with me, and I love all the comics I got from South African and African creators, and I want to see the new shit. I want to see the new stuff, baby. So keep grinding, all right?
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it, and thank you for taking the time for being a part of Comic-Con Africa Online. And we'll see you guys hopefully next year.
All right. Thanks so much, y'all.
Take care.